Emerald, the little green bee. Once upon a time, in a meadow bursting with colourful flowers, lived a busy clan of bees. They zipped and zoomed through the air, collecting nectar and making honey. Every bee in the meadow had the same black and yellow stripes, round fuzzy bodies, and short, strong tongues, perfect for sipping nectar from flowers. One bright morning, a very special bee was born, but she didn't look like the others. Instead of black and yellow, she shimmered in the sunlight with a bright metallic green body. Her name was Emerald. Emerald was excited to explore the meadow with her brothers and sisters, but as soon as she left the hive, the other young bees stopped and stared. "Why do you look like that?" asked Buzz, a chubby little bee with tiny wings. "She doesn't look like a bee at all," giggled Pollen, another young bee. "She looks more like a fly." "Or a frog," snickered another. "Look at that long tongue." Emerald's face drooped. She didn't understand why she was so different. She flitted home to her mother, her little wings buzzing softly. "Mama, why am I not black and yellow like everyone else?" she asked sadly. Her mother smiled and gently stroked Emerald's head. "Because you are special, my dear. You were born to be different, and different is beautiful." Emerald wanted to believe her mother, but the teasing didn't stop. Still, she found comfort in her best friend, Dot the ladybug. Dot was small and round with bright red wings dotted with black spots. She was also the smartest insect Emerald knew. Dot could name every flower in the meadow. Aside from her mother and Dot, the queen bee was also kind to Emerald. The wise and gentle queen watched over all the bees in the meadow. She always smiled at Emerald and told her, "One day, little one, everyone will see how special you truly are." One day, something terrible happened. The queen bee fell very ill. The entire hive was worried. The worker bees gathered around, whispering and buzzing nervously. "The queen is very weak," an old bee named Sage said, "but I have heard of a special nectar that can cure her. It comes from a rare flower that grows high in the trees." Hope flickered in the bees' hearts, but then Sage continued, "The problem is, the flower is impossible to reach. It blooms at the very top of a tall tree, and a fearsome bee-eater bird lives nearby. No ordinary bee can get to it. And even if one could, the flower is shaped like a deep bell. No bee's tongue is long enough to sip its nectar." The hive fell silent. It seemed hopeless. Emerald's eyes widened. She turned to Dot and whispered, "A tall tree? A bell-shaped flower?" Dot's spots wiggled as she thought. Then she gasped, "I know that flower. It's an orchid. It grows in the big tree past the river." Emerald's wings buzzed with excitement. "Then I have to go. I can blend in with the green leaves so the bee-eater won't see me, and my tongue is long enough to reach inside the flower." The other bees gasped. "But it's too dangerous," said one. Emerald turned to her mother. "Mama, the queen has always been kind to me. I have to try." Her mother hesitated, then gave Emerald a gentle hug. "Be careful, my little green bee." With Dot guiding the way, Emerald zipped through the meadow, past buzzing dragonflies and chirping crickets, over the sparkling river, until they reached the giant tree. Emerald's bright green body blended perfectly with the leaves. She hovered silently, listening. Then, whoosh! A sharp shadow passed overhead. The bee-eater bird sat on a branch, its sharp eyes searching for food. Emerald held her breath, staying as still as a leaf. When the bird looked away, she darted toward the orchid. The flower was even bigger up close. Its deep bell shape held the precious nectar inside, hidden from ordinary bees. But Emerald wasn't an ordinary bee. She took a deep breath and stretched out her long tongue. It slipped easily into the flower, reaching the sweet golden nectar at the bottom. Carefully, she collected some and turned back. Emerald and Dot raced back to the hive just as the sun was setting. The other bees watched in amazement as Emerald landed beside the queen. She placed the golden nectar near the queen's mouth, and the worker bees helped her sip it. Slowly, the queen's eyes fluttered open and she smiled. Colour returned to her fuzzy body. The hive burst into cheers. "Our queen is saved! The little green bee did it!" Emerald's heart soared. For the first time, the other bees didn't see her as strange. They saw her as brave, as special. The queen buzzed softly. "I told you, little one day everyone would see how wonderful you are." From that day on, Emerald was no longer teased. She was loved and respected for her unique gifts. And whenever a young bee felt different or out of place, Emerald would smile and say, "Different is beautiful." So you see, little children, everyone is unique in their own way. Just because someone is different doesn't mean they are less special. In fact, our differences can make us strong, brave, and extraordinary. The end. But before you go, did you know? Not all bees are black and yellow. Some are blue, red, and even metallic like Emerald. Emerald is based on a real bee called the orchid bee. These bees are bright and shiny like tiny jewels. They have super long tongues that help them reach nectar from deep flowers, just like in our story. Some orchid bees are metallic green, blue, or even purple.